Well, hello and welcome back once again to the Politically Incorrect Redneck. My name is George Pern and I'm coming to you live again this evening from Roy Nichols Motors in Curtis, Ontario. Roy Nichols Motors is located just east of Oshawa, or as we like to say, just east of high prices. This week I've got a special show coming to you. Last April or May I did a quick show on the Algonquin Land Claim Treaty. It's a agreement in principle at this point, and talking about some of the stuff that was going on there that sort of had us hunters, fishermen, cottagers, and users of Algonquin Park a little bit pissed off at what was going on. Well, today I'm very lucky. I've got Chief Grant Tizik and Chief Paul Lamoth of the Algonquin Indian. What do you call you guys? The Algonquin Indians, I guess. Both chiefs, and they've got some beefs with this claim as well. Want to fill us in on that, Paul?
Let me begin by saying that we're in Ottawa, the Ottawa Algonquin First Nation, and in 2008 we were at the negotiations table, and we didn't like what we seen. First of all, it was too much secrecy, and so we decided to walk away from the table. And as the gods would have it, we were quickly replaced by a so-called phantom community. They parachuted in 28 individuals, and they created another Algonquin community in order to make this land claim continue and not lose funding. Now, one of my beefs is the entire land claim is being controlled and administered by lawyer Bob Potts from Toronto with the Blaney McMurtry organization, and I feel that the people aren't being told the truth. There's too much secrecy. There's too much backdoor politics going on, and the cottagers and hunters and fishermen have a lot to worry about.
Interesting you say backdoor politics. I mean, that's how the provincial government operates, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. What happens is we have 16 individuals sitting at the table, 7 from one community, which would be Pikwaknik on the reserve, and right. One representative for each individual outside community, which are 9 communities, really.
So you have 7 people from one community, but only 1 from each community of
exactly.
9. Well, how's that fair?
It's not fair at all. Chief and council each draw a salary of $250 a day over and above what their chief and council salaries allot them, and the outside communities are only allowed 1 person to sit at the table to represent God knows how many people.
Wow. Yeah, unbelievable. And how did they choose that 1 person from outside the community? Was there...
Well, we elections were held, and usually these communities are voted in.
Okay.
Such as the same as well, not really the same as chief and council, but in the same vein, really. Okay.
And now you're with the Ottawa Algonquin
First Nation, yeah.
First Nation.
Yeah.
And now I was reading something that you sent me that says that you're no longer an Algonquin or something.
Well, this is one of the powers that Bob Potts says. He can either make you or break you. You can either be an Algonquin, regardless of your ancestry. He just removes you.
How does he do that?
He just sends you a letter and says you're not an Algonquin anymore.
Well, I guess your ancestors would have something to say about that, wouldn't they?
You're rolling over in their grave,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, now, what about you, Grant? What's your big beef, your big issue with what's going on here?
The big issue here is the whole process, completely from the get-go. You got to understand that some people may think that the Algonquins control the funding from the governments, and they're the ones that are paying the law firm of Blaney McMurtry and Bob Potts. Well, that's not true. It's Canada and Ontario have distributed the money to Blaney McMurtry, and they are the ones that look after the funding for the Algonquins when they're supposed to be employed by them.
Well, that's kind of like putting the fox in charge of the hen house, isn't it?
Well, yeah, usually when you're writing the checks, you're not the employee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's...
And like I said, it goes on and on and on. And I said it's a secrecy from day one. It's everybody that's around, that goes around, that has to go around the negotiation table, has to sign confidentiality forms.
Now, why do they have to sign these confidentiality forms? Like, I mean, my understanding was originally when the land claim process started that they were talking about how transparent it's going to be.
Exactly.
And hasn't it gone exactly the opposite?
An article in 2001, and it's Brian Crane, chief negotiator for Ontario.
Right.
Robin Aikens for Canada, and Alan Johnson, who was the Municipal Advisory Committee. And what it is they tell the people in the territory, and even the Algonquins, how open and transparent this is going to be, and it's going to be a modern-day treaty, nothing like they've ever seen. And it's far from it. It's all, like I said, behind closed-door dealings. There's no legal consultation to the Algonquins. If you got to go on the Pikwaktagon Reserve, and you went to the house next to the band council office and asked the person there what they knew about the Algonquin land claim, they'd look at you funny.
They don't even know what's happening.
They don't even know what's happening.
Wow.
Well, George, if I might intervene, I sat at the negotiation table, as I said, for a year, and that was one of the things that was preached, really, that this was going to be open and transparent. Nobody was going to be displaced.
Right.
And suddenly, a year later, it was all, we can't tell anybody this, we can't tell anybody that. We have to keep this confidential. If I'll tell you something. I was even threatened. I felt like a school kid that I was going to get a letter of reprimand if I went out and spoke to people. And I'm very outspoken. I felt that I'm sitting there representing a group of people, and they need to know what's going on. Well, I wasn't allowed to say that.
Well, that's it's funny. You guys sound exactly, and I'm so happy you came on the show because you sound exactly the same as the head of the Cottagers Association, the head of the Federation of Anglers and Hunters, the CCSA, Canadian Shooting Sports. Everybody is saying exactly the same thing, that this isn't transparent.
Nope. And
it isn't a fair process. And, the one thing that got me on it was a friend of mine, Phil Morlock, had mentioned that there was nothing written into the talking papers about the conservation in the Algonquin Park region. It's been 200 years of hard work on behalf of natives and non-natives alike to make sure that we're preserving this land for future generations.
That's right.
And
all of that has been thrown out the window.
Yeah, well, I'd like to speak about that, George.
Sure, absolutely, Grant.
And the reason I'd like to speak about that, I've been in communications because this First Nations community has been opposed and caught on the outside with Mr. Bank from Ontario Federation Anglers, Hunters, and those groups over the years.
Right.
And the public got to remember is when they went out and gathered these 7,000 people to bring them into the process, what they used was Algonquin Park and moose hunting and fishing as the big carrot.
Right.
And that's how they gathered them all. And they don't care about the moose and the fish, the governments like that sportsmen, hunters, and that care about. They care about the resources. And if they can blindside the Algonquins from the real issues by a moose, that's what they're doing.
Wow.
And then you got to remember, recently they hold after 10 years of these people belonging to this group calling themselves the Algonquins of Ontario, the government of Canada decides that they're going to hire a Superior Court judge last fall, Justice Chadwick,
right,
to identify all the people that Mr. Potts has brought into this process in Dalton McGuinty. And it turns out there's 3,000 or 3,500 that have been negotiating hunting and fishing in Algonquin Park that Justice Chadwick says are not even Algonquin.
Wow.
And they if I might intervene again, you have to remember that Joan Holmes, who is a genealogist from Ottawa, verified these people.
Okay.
Was paid big dollars to verify them. So there's something wrong here. Sorry to cut you out there.
Yeah, no, but I hear you there. Now, I was reading something about, you had sent me some papers on something where there's been some fraudulent changes to government documents.
The documents were altered, and this goes right back to the judge. He noticed that. He said if these people hadn't altered the documents, then they wouldn't be there in the first place.
Wow.
He specifically said that 1871 census was altered to make it look like the families of Algonquin.
Well, that's, yeah.
Now that, I don't know about you, George, but is that not fraud?
Oh, it's absolutely fraud. I mean, you can't alter a government document, especially, a census or birth certificates or anything like that. You go to jail for that crap.
Yeah.
So someone needs to go to jail here.
I would hope. I can point a finger, but I won't.
Well, no, you're allowed to. This is a politically incorrect redneck. You can say absolutely anything you want.
Yeah. The thing that gets me is that the people aren't being told the truth. It's not only the Algonquins, it's the entire, everybody that it involves are not being told the truth. And these so-called meetings that they hold, from what I understand, you're not allowed to ask any questions.
Oh, wow.
So, they hold a meeting, and if you ask the wrong question or if you say something, you're showing the door.
Sounds like a dictatorship.
Pretty much. It's like, let's get this over with, and it's not right. I mean, and there is a thing of concern to the hunters, the fishermen, and everything. And somebody's got to do something, really. I mean,
well, why do they want to push this through? Now, I'm saying so quickly. It hasn't been quick. It's been 9 years. It's been going on now.
No, it's been going on for 20 years.
20 years. Okay, well, there you go. Okay.
It restarted, George, in 2004. It was. It went from
92.
From 92 to 2000, and then it was a shutdown. Then they restarted in 2004. And why they did that? Because there was in the meantime, at first, remember, there was only Pikwaktagon at the table with the government of Canada and Ontario, and Pikwaktagon walked.
Oh, I see.
And then there was a decision from a Superior Court judge that non-status Algonquins were pretty well equal, and they had to be involved in this land claim also, and that's when they opened the doors in 2001 for enrollment.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Chief Tissick, because one of the things that I always talk about, you talk about non-status and status Indians being equal. Well, God damn it, I think we're all equal. And we all have an equal right to look after the land and be stewards of the land and be involved in the process. Everybody has something at stake here. And I'm not denying that, the First Nations people do have special rights and special privileges that they should be allowed for subsistence hunting, subsistence fishing, and, keeping their traditions alive. God knows I wish I could keep our traditions alive. I mean, I'm really 100% in favor of that. But when it comes right down to it, for the rights of the people, the users of the resource, I think we're all equal.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's when it comes to protecting Mother Earth, we're all equal. That's the bottom line, and the plants and animals,
Absolutely, and what's happening here is I think we've taken.
But I'd like to go back,
turn.
George, and something you mentioned there a few minutes ago, and
Sure.
why they want to push this through.
Sure, certainly, go ahead.
I want you to also know, and your listeners, that you got to remember that Catherine Wynne was the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs before she got promoted to Premier McGuinty's job.
That's right.
And she knows everything is what's took place in this land claim, and she also knows that if this land claim ever went to a public audit, the Liberal government would have bigger problems they already have besides hydro plants. And it's her pushing it through.
She's pushing it through because she wants it to be settled before it becomes an election issue?
That's right.
Well,
what she wants to do is stand up and tell the people that she's done such a good job, she's resolved the Algonquin land claim for them and the whole issue. That's what's going on here. But if it doesn't go that way, what's going to go on here is there's going to be another. And what me and Paul have been doing, Chief Lamoth, is we've been with MPPs like Horworth, Kim Hudak. They're also aware of this. And what I said to them in letter probably 2 weeks ago we sent them was, how can you guys sit there and know everything else Dalton McGinty has touched is corrupt? How come you never bring up the issue of the Algonquin land claim? Because they're too scared to touch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why doesn't the opposition ever talk about the Algonquin land claim? You ever hear them?
No, and you know why?
Sure, they get flooded with emails.
Well, absolutely. Do you know who the Aboriginal critic is from the Conservatives?
Who is it?
Do you know?
Which one? Which critic? Are you talking Ontario or
Ontario. Provincial.
Oh, no, I don't know who the critic is.
Yeah, he's Jerry Olette.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
Jerry Olette and I used to hunt deer together, and we fished together a lot, and I can't get the son of a bitch to come on my show and talk about it.
No.
Well, I told you the story of Pierre Lemieux,
yeah?
Do you want that on air?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, the last election, Pierre Lemieux, I'm out in Prescott Russell, right? So Pierre Lemieux came to the door, and he was I believe he was the secretary to the agricultural minister at the time. Anyway, he came to the door anyway, and I knew him, so he says, how's it going, Paul, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I said, hey, just the guy I want to talk to. I said, how come you guys never bring up the Algonquin land claim? My driveway is about 40 feet long, and I swear to God, the guy must have made 2 steps, and he was gone down the street. I don't want to talk about it. He was gone, man. He just did not want to talk about the Algonquin land claim. Yeah. Like I had sent him letters and showed him how corrupt it was, and I use the word corrupt, and as everybody else says, it is corrupt from top to bottom. And he did not want to talk about it. It was gone. He was gone. He was sort of like Jerry Willett.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the situation. Now, Jerry was on the Fan 590 a little while ago talking about this with Angelo Viola, and this radio network is with his brother Reno Viola. Yep. And I guess maybe it's because of the name of the show or something. He just doesn't want to get too involved with it, because I contacted his office, told him what I was talking about. As well as I've been on a bit of a campaign and a rampage lately about bringing back the spring bear hunt. And, well, you guys live up there. You know it needs to happen.
Sure.
And, again, all his office sends me is, well, you can click onto this link and this will give you all the information you need. Well, of course I know that. I can click on any link on the internet. I want, some one-on-one conversation for my listeners here to hear what's going on, because the worst part, I won't say the worst part, but one of the biggest downfalls of what's happening here is I'm afraid they're going to use this claim as a blueprint to settle other claims across the country.
Exactly what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. This was proposed a few years ago. I think it's while I was still at the table. This is exactly what it is. They want to settle the Algonquins in Quebec also. Mm-hmm. And by closing this one down as soon as possible, or settling it, I should say, as soon as possible, they can turn around and say, this is what Ontario got, this is what you're getting. And it will not drag on. This land claim has been going on for years, as we said, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're using this as the blueprint for the comprehensive ones.
Well, what is it that the Algonquins want out of this claim? What is it? What's the big picture? What is it that the Algonquin First Nation wants out of the Algonquin land claim?
Well, what we want, George, is the Algonquin land claim has to be stopped. Right now, as you can see, the Algonquin Nation is divided into 3 parts.
Yes.
Okay, you have the Algonquins of Ontario, which are represented by Pikwaktagon, negotiating with Canada for a territory.
Right.
You have 9 Algonquin First Nation communities in Quebec that are sitting on the sidelines, opposed to this land claim, also threatening lawsuits, because they have just as much claim rights and title over here as we do, which is right.
That's correct. I mean, the Algonquin Nation doesn't have provincial
and now you
borders.
Have Bob Ray running up to the ones up in northern Ontario, gathering them as a little group to talk about resources that have just as much rights to us and the Quebec Algonquins.
Oh, Jesus.
So what kind of a mess you got here?
Yeah.
It's all it is it's a big mess. And until the government of Canada sits down with the Algonquin nation to nation, which the agreements have been with the Queen of England, this land claim is nothing. And secondly, what you know right now is there's a Chilcotin Nation from British Columbia is right now at the Supreme Court of Canada.
Right.
They've got leave the Supreme Court of Canada. They're in there last week. And why they got there is because how their first process started is the Chilcotin Nation took the Chief and Band Council to court of BC.
Okay.
The Superior Court, and what they said was, the traditional communities was, that Chief and Band Council cannot speak, consult, and negotiate first. And they put it all the tapestry in front. Agents and employees of Canada under the Indian Act, the whole issue.
Right.
And when Justice Nielsen come back and said, yes, you are correct, that when governments consult and negotiate with Chief and Band Councils, they're only consulting and negotiating with themselves. They're agents and employees of Canada.
That's right.
They're running Canada's corporation. So that's why it gets back to the process, why the funds weren't directed over this way and why they're directed in the Blenny Bertry. Because Canada couldn't direct the funds in their own corporation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear exactly what you're saying.
That's all. It's the whole process is so illegal, like it has no merit.
Yeah. So basically, after we spent all these hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Hundreds of thousands?
millions.
You don't even want to go there.
Yeah, no, I do. Do you know what the total is? How much money has been spent?
As back as 2007, when Chief Lamotte's community was at the table, it was $2.9 million. So here it's
per year.
Just for the Algonquins, just for Blaney McMurtry. But
that was per year. That wasn't just what was spent. That was per year.
And that is not
Wow.
what the government of Ontario spent or Canada.
Unbelievable. And it isn't going to be worth the paper that it's written on because it hasn't been negotiated properly.
Nation to nation.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that, Grant, maybe you should tell them a little bit about your community.
Well, like this community too, George, is actually it's a historical community. It's been here before European occupation.
Right.
Actually, the first community Champlain encountered June 6, 1613.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and we opposed, this community opposed to go to the table because of the conflicts of interest with the Chief and Council and them having 7 seats and the whole issue.
Right.
And because of that opposition, members of this community have been in Provincial Offences Court on charges with Ministry of Natural Resources. We've been in criminal court for mischief, for protest and blockades. But the reason why those steps had to be taken was with the ignorance of governments and the ignorance of Mr. Potts, because of our opposition, that the M&R take the position, even though we're a First Nations community, we don't belong to that hunting agreement. Well, the hunting agreement ain't worth the paper it's written on either with the Algonquins and M&R because it's never been signed.
Right. It's just an agreement, a verbal agreement, if I'm...
Well, they put it on paper, but it's not signed.
But nobody signs it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so how the hell does that work?
Well, I don't know. This is another government fiasco.
What happened was, what I'd like to let the public know is 2 years ago, we went to Ottawa, and what we went was for a funding challenge to see if Ministry of Natural Resources will fund our constitutional question.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in regards to this community, and I, as the chief, had to take the stand and the whole issue, and we were with M&R's lawyer was there and their lawyer for a funding application to see if... But anyways, what happened was the decision come down from Justice Sculthorpe out of an Ottawa courtroom. And what he said was, specifically, was he granted the $65,000 our lawyer was looking for to fund our constitutional question, because his reasonings was he noticed that the group, Pick Octagon, who are negotiating a land claim right now with governments, received a sum of $2.9 million a year to enter into unsigned agreements.
Wow.
While the Canooch-Perini, Algonquin First Nation, is not part of the process, so he awarded us the money.
Wow.
So what's happening here is we're going for funding applications that our community caught on the outside have to go for funding applications to fight off the Ministry of Natural Resources and the governments from attacking us.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Instead of trying to resolve the issues with the communities and step back for a minute.
Well, that's what they should be doing. Step back, have a look at it, and talk.
Not only step back on behalf of the First Nation communities on the outside, but step back on behalf of the 1 million people they're supposed to be representing at least.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. It doesn't sound like there's absolutely any good coming out of this lands claim agreement whatsoever.
No,
nothing.
When you take in consideration that I wouldn't say it's the government, but those sitting at the table will create communities in order to push this thing forward. There's something wrong there, because RDOC is another example where they changed the name of the community in order to push it forward. Meanwhile, the real RDOC is sitting on the outside.
Yeah, they're not allowed at the table because they did they ask a question?
Pretty much, they won't play the game. That's if you must play the game. You can't just go and sit there. You're not allowed to speak to begin with. You're not allowed to reveal anything that's gone on within these meetings. So I mean, what's the point of having a group sitting at a table if you're not allowed to talk about it?
Just put it this way, George: accountants are not welcome.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet.
There you go.
yeah. If you know how to count your money. Well, this has been interesting. We're going to have to get together and talk a little bit more. I'm running out of time here right now, but I think we've gotten the point across quite well that what is happening is not healthy for native and non-native people of the Algonquin area.
Can I say something before you sign off?
Oh, absolutely. You go ahead. Sum it up.
I think there is a need for land claims, but they have to be done properly, and they shouldn't be made in a sense to affect people. Like, I don't like what I'm seeing right now. If people have cottages and that, and they're not going to be allowed to get to their cottages without paying a toll or something, that's not right. There is a need for land claims. It has to be settled one way or another, but do it properly.
Yes, I agree with you. Everybody has their issues and their.
Our whole issue is here, George, with this thing, why it has to be stopped and started and moved forward, where people have a say and are consulted.
Mm-hmm.
The whole issue is we're all here.
Yes, sir.
And we have an obligation for future generations of our children to try to live together. And what's taken place is people don't realize up here, I'm right up here in the heart of the Ottawa Valley along the Ottawa River. And the divide that's taken place today between the sportsman hunters and the non-native people is really ridiculous.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be taking place, because what kind of example are we setting for future generations? If we can't resolve it, maybe we should let the next generation dry.
Very well said, Chief Grant. Very well said, and I agree with that 100%. It's been wonderful having both you gentlemen on my show, and let's do this again sometime and talk about some of the other issues. Chief Paul?
Yep. No problem. Anytime you want to call.
Yeah.
And if you need any documents to back us up, we can provide.
Well, I think you sent me 120 pages. I've gotten through about 60, so I won't need any for about another month.
You're good.
Okay. Thanks, gentlemen.
Good talking to you.
Language.
Thanks.
Good night.
Segwich. Well, that was rather eye-opening. I think you'll have to agree with Chief Grant Isaac and Chief Paul Lamoth. Both of them had some very good points, and I really like the way they ended it off in saying that we've got to solve this, and we've got to solve it the right way. It can't go on, but it also can't be railroaded through without proper care being looked at for all interest groups, including cottagers, hunters, fishermen, and so on and so forth. Looks like it's got a long way from being over with, and I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight on the Politically Incorrect Redneck. We are part of the WRVO radio network and Reno Viola Outdoors, and we will catch you next week with a new topic.
If I was inclined to lean to the left, these freedoms of mine could fall victim to theft. I like to hunt, I like to fish, I am gainfully employed and pay more tax than I wish. I don't belong to a cult or a sect, I'm a politically incorrect redneck. I'm a politically incorrect redneck. I'm a politically